5 years ago, the Labor government said it would give $6 billion to the car industry to keep it going.
This country will continue to make things in the future, and that includes making world-class motor vehicles.
Ford, which has had $1 billion in federal subsidies over 12 years, got another $34 million last year, when it was already clear it was dying.
We have worked with Ford to keep Australian jobs here, and we are keeping Ford jobs here.
Yeah, sure. Joining me is Sophie Mirabella, the opposition's industry spokesman. Sophie, we give car makers about $7,000 per car in subsidies. Doesn't Ford prove we're just throwing good money after bad?
What Ford proves is that governments need to be very, very careful when they give over taxpayers' dollars. And that last clip with Julia Gillard about the $34 million, what she actually said at the time was, this will create 300 new jobs. 6 months later, a month after the last instalment of the $34 million, 330 people were sacked. At the time, I got a lot of flack, the coalition got a lot of criticism from some quarters for not endorsing that $34 million. Why didn't we do it? Because it was a special deal done behind closed doors.
But doesn't the overall takeout on this is government should not be handing money to specific industries trying to play Godfather. It doesn't work.
Well, when governments do try and provide some strategic assistance, you have to be very stringent about the conditions you provide that money and also make it very clear what the taxpayer is getting in return. And obviously, at the moment, the car companies aren't qualifying for, largely are not qualifying for most of the set fund, and they go cap in hand to the government to get a special deal behind closed doors. And
yeah, but whatever they say, though, Sophie, about what they want the money for, where does it actually go? For example, look, Holden is struggling, right? Even though taxpayers have given it $2 billion over the past decade, $2 billion. Yet last year it gave its workers pay rises of 6% a year over 3 years without any productivity trade-offs. I mean, these are heavily unionised industries. It really is money for unions, really, isn't it?
Well, all the car companies need to look at their cost structures.
Was that a yes?
And well, their EBAs do appear to be very generous.
Can you be a bit blunt? I mean, look, Ford, for example, right, which is dying, and we've given it $1 billion, it's got sort of it's got packages, redundancy packages, if the plant closes, of pay rise of pays up to 2 years. 2 years pay package. I mean, this is outrageous. This is our money.
Well, Ford said that it's twice as expensive to make a car in Australia than it is in Europe. Europe, the highly regulated, non-competitive, protected market. And it's an issue. This is why there needs to be a Productivity Commission review. There was supposed to be one in 2008 to look at the industry, to look at where it was, what its challenges were, and to provide a clear path for a viable industry going forward. What we saw from Labor, they abandoned the 2008 review. They got a Labor mate to conduct the review, and now they're bleating, saying, oh, we need an inquiry into the industry. If they'd done the right thing and actually had a Productivity Commission review to examine the industry, to find a viable funding model going forward, we probably wouldn't be in the situation we're in. And that's what we've promised.
But Sophie, you know that former Productivity Commission heads and commissioners have said this is no way to help industry. I mean, this is a joke. This is just throwing away good money. You've said you'd cut car subsidies by a third, $500 million, by 2015, but you haven't said what you'll do. In fact, you're actually making noises like you'll keep the $1 billion in subsidies after that. The car industry is dead. It's dying. Why are you throwing away our money on these feather beddings of unions and inefficient companies?
Andrew, there's a very big difference between us and the Labor Party. We've said we do want to see a viable auto sector, but...
Right, Jack Nasser, the former head of Ford, said they're going to be dead anyway. Why are you throwing away $1 billion?
Well, no,
you need that money.
We're not going to be throwing away this money. We have said there needs to be a better, viable funding model going forward, that we will work with the industry and the Productivity Commission to get those new guidelines, these new rules for funding. But importantly, Andrew, if companies don't qualify once the new funding model is set up, I'm not going to do special deals behind closed doors, because it makes a mockery of having benchmarks that companies need to reach in order to be granted the privilege of taxpayers'
Sophie,
dollars.
I don't understand why you would pick car industries. I mean, there's other industries in trouble, going to the wall, whatever. They don't get these handouts. Why car industries? It's like they're a protected species. Shouldn't you just say, look, we'll cut taxes for everyone, cut regulations for everyone. After that, you look after yourself.
Well, we've always believed, and the Howard government believed this, and I know you're going to be having Mr Reith on later. He was part of a very important member of the Howard cabinet, that the auto sector was strategically important to manufacturing and R&D.
What
now,
nonsense? You know that's nonsense.
Andrew, the real issue is, what do you do to safeguard taxpayers' dollars for any funding program? And
how about
that
not handing them out?
Well, we do believe in strategic investments, but the issue is you set the rules up to ensure that taxpayers get a dividend. There is some return to the economy, and if companies don't qualify under those sorts of guidelines, then we're not going to do what Julia Gillard has done and said, we'll give you money
good.
anyway.
That bit would be good. Sophie Mirabella, I appreciate you coming in. Coming up, another ghastly jihadist attack in London. Have we been honest about Islam in the West?